Tonight, there is a controversial Draw Muhammad rally planned in Phoenix as part of a free speech rally where organizers are telling people to protest Islam and bring guns just before evening prayers are set to begin.
Now, you might recall there was an attempted attack at a contest in Texas where police shot and killed the two gunmen who tried to ambush the event. ISIS claimed responsibility for that, but that claim was never confirmed by the United States.
And, of course, there was that massacre of the offices of French satirical magazine Charlie Hebdo, which claimed the lives of 12 people.
Now, last night, the man who was organizing tonight's event was on CNN explaining why he wants to do this and what he says to people who call it a bad idea.
I think the whole thing is, the cartoon contest especially, I think it's stupid and ridiculous, but it's what needs to take place in order to expose the true colors of Islam. And some would probably argue that, you know, the signers that signed the Declaration of Independence was a bad idea back in their day.
So you're comparing yourself to the signers of the Declaration of Independence?
Yeah. I don't want to live in fear. I shouldn't have to live in fear.
Holding an event like this is legal in the United States, of course, but a lot of people question whether it's a good idea. That's because many Muslims find visual depictions offensive. The Quran, however, doesn't even mention that.
Now, joining us is Dawood Walid, the executive director of the Council on American Islamic Relations Michigan chapter. Dawood, let's just get right to it. Can you give us some perspective about why some Muslims feel depictions of the Prophet Muhammad are offensive?
Well, one of the issues in terms of the depictions, in which, by the way, there is a difference of opinion amongst Muslims ourselves in terms of these depictions, it's more of the spirit behind the depiction. So no group of people likes to see their figures or people who they believe are divinely inspired to be insulted. And Jesus Christ is also a prophet according to Islam. And just as we don't like seeing pictures that defame or ridicule Prophet Muhammad, we also don't like seeing things done in the name of art or free speech that would defame Jesus Christ, such as having him or a depiction of him put upside down into a bottle of urine. So we are for free speech and we're peaceful people, but we also believe that there should be some sort of civility in terms of that speech and not people being really hateful in the name of free speech.
Are there some who believe they don't want to see any depictions at all? Because sometimes I believe some of these depictions are not offensive to someone by just looking at it, meaning there's nothing offensive in the way they're hanging or anything like that you mentioned, but there are some Muslims who just don't want to see Muhammad depicted in any way, correct?
That's correct, but also the vast majority of those people, 99.9% of those people, never are engaged in violence in regards to their disdain for those pictures. And again, these people who are drawing these, they're not doing it solely for the protection of the First Amendment or in the name of exercising their First Amendment rights. They're doing it intentionally, not just to incite, but really they're saying it in a way of like insulting Muslims all throughout the world. So can they do this? Yes. Is this something that is civil or the right thing to do in the name of the First Amendment? I'm not so sure about that.
Dawood, the editor of the Arab American News, Osama Siblani, has said that after that Texas attack, there should be free speech with responsibility. Do you agree with that? Can this happen?
There are people who can have anti-Semitic cartoons or protests against Jewish Americans, or the Ku Klux Klan can protest in Ferguson or other places. That's their legal right, but should they do it? Is that really what the Founding Fathers intended in terms of freedom of speech and freedom of assembly? I would say no. With freedoms, there also is the other side, which has responsibility. And also in these United States of America, there is not absolute free speech. You can't go into a movie theater and yell fire. You can't go into a group of people and incite them towards violence. And even in terms of the Freedom of Access Act, you can't go in front of an abortion clinic and hold up signs and also carry weapons to the point of intimidating people to go in front of abortion clinics that people fear for their lives. So freedom of speech is not even absolute here in these United States of America.
I want to ask you about this. The Huffington Post reporting today that the Islamic Center in Phoenix received a letter threatening to burn American mosques to the ground, saying, quote, "I can see entire Muslim communities destroyed from Detroit to California. You should abandon your properties and go back home wherever that is," end quote. Can you just respond to that? Your thoughts on that?
Well, it's very alarming, and again, these organizers of this cartoon situation, and it's expected that 200 bikers will come and armed. Their rhetoric is producing an environment of hate, where the imam of the mosque has received death threats, threatening to burn down the mosque, and even mentioning Detroit in terms of wanting to exterminate the Muslim community. So this type of rhetoric is inciting fear and hatred among fellow Americans. We can't necessarily change the environment of what goes on halfway across the world in Nigeria or Afghanistan, but we surely can work towards cultivating a climate of tolerance and mutual coexistence here in the United States of America. And the people who are behind this protest, this armed biker gang protest outside the mosque, they're not about cultivating civility in our society.
Well, we don't know if that's where those threats came from, correct? The threat I just referenced from the Huffington Post.
No, we're not, and I'm not saying that it came directly from those bikers, but what I am saying is that those bikers and the environment that they are helping to spawn from this is focus attention on that particular Islamic community right there in particular.
Certainly a lot of work to do here in this country and around the world. Dawood Walid, the Executive Director of the Council on American Islamic Relations. Dawood, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Still ahead on the Now